They offered me the job the same day I got laid off. It sounded easy. A night guard at a cemetery. I just had to sit in a booth, walk a few rounds, and make sure no one jumped the fence. The pay was decent, and they even gave me a heater. What they didn't tell me, at least not clearly, was why the last guy quit. Turns out he didn't quit. He died. Not just him, but his wife and kid, too. I found that out by accident, talking to the guy who handled the keys. He mentioned it like he was telling me the weather, then quickly changed the subject. I pushed for details, but he shut down. I got the feeling no one liked talking about Steven, which for someone who worked there 12 years straight without missing a shift was weird. I brought a thermos full of coffee and a tiny portable TV that barely got any reception. The booth was old and smelled like burnt plastic. A couple of magazines sat on the desk, but they were stuck together with something I didn't want to investigate. My shift started at 10 p.m. I sat, drank coffee, and told myself I was fine. The first 2 hours were dead quiet. I walked the perimeter once, checked the gates, then came back to my little booth. It was boring, which was good. That's what I signed up for. Around midnight, while watching a rerun of some old cooking show, I heard something outside. It wasn't loud, but it was too steady to be wind. It came in bursts, gravel crunching like someone stepping too fast on loose ground. I muted the TV and waited, trying to tell if it was close. A second sound followed. Metal clinking, maybe a chain fence being rattled. That's when I stood up and grabbed my flashlight. My first thought was kids, teenagers trying to sneak in for fun or some dumb video. The idea made me a little less tense. Dealing with teenagers was way better than dealing with animals. Or worse. I followed the sound toward the west wall. As I got closer, I saw 3 figures dropping down from the top of the fence. They were fast but clumsy. One stumbled when landing. They wore hoodies, hands tucked in the pockets, heads down. They looked like teenagers. I yelled, "Get the hell out of here! This isn't a playground!" They didn't answer. They just ran, splitting up into different directions. I chased one a few steps before giving up. I couldn't outrun anyone these days. I figured they got spooked and were gone for the night. I walked back, annoyed but glad it wasn't something worse. My heart rate went back down. I sat back in the booth, turned the TV back on, and poured another cup of coffee. I didn't even get 10 minutes of rest before another noise pulled me out of the chair. This time it wasn't gravel. It was a soft banging sound, like someone hitting a metal pole repeatedly with the palm of their hand. Steady, measured, not random at all. I stood by the door, trying to tell where it was coming from. My flashlight flickered once before stabilizing. I didn't want to go back out there, but I couldn't just sit and do nothing. I stepped outside and walked toward the sound, more frustrated than scared. When I reached the same spot near the west fence, there was no one, not even footsteps in the dirt. I circled the mausoleums, checked between the trees, pointed my light in every direction. Nothing. No movement, no sound, no signs of kids or animals. Then I turned around. 3 figures were standing directly behind me. Same hoodies, same silent posture, except they weren't teenagers. Not even close. Their faces were pale and wrinkled, eyes yellowed and wide, skin sagging around their mouths. They looked like they were in their 70s. Their bodies, thin and twitchy, didn't match the stillness of their faces. They began to undress. First the hoodies, then the pants. In seconds, they were standing in nothing but stained underwear, barefoot on the frozen ground. It was 5 degrees that night, and they showed no signs of discomfort. Their skin had goosebumps, but they kept smiling. Before I could react, I heard something behind me again. I spun around and froze. There were more, at least 15 of them, all old, all half-naked, all smiling like they were waiting for something to start. I reached for my keys, then remembered I left them inside the booth. The main gate was padlocked. The fences were too tall to climb quickly. I turned in circles looking for any space to run, but every path was blocked by at least 2 or 3 of them. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They just stared. It was like being caught in a trap made of brittle skin and fake teeth. I backed away slowly, praying I wouldn't trip. I thought maybe I could try climbing the fence if I got enough of a head start. My breathing got shallow. My fingers went numb. Then, without warning, they all started running. The sudden noise of 30 feet pounding on gravel exploded all around me. I turned and bolted in the opposite direction. One of them grabbed my jacket and nearly yanked me down, but I tore free and kept going. I didn't have a destination, I just ran toward the trees. Something hit me from the side and I collapsed hard. The wind was knocked out of me. 2 others pounced before I could roll over. I screamed, but no one came. Hands grabbed at my arms, legs, chest, nails dug into my skin. One bit into my shoulder, tearing a piece of the jacket off. They stripped me down piece by piece, biting and scratching the whole time. The pain wasn't sharp, it was raw, overwhelming. I tried to fight them off, but they moved like people half their age, fast and practiced. My body started to shut down. Then, one of them pressed something against my chest. It wasn't a knife, it was metal, but burning hot. It sizzled into my skin like it had been heated for hours. I screamed and thrashed, but they held me down until it was done. When the pain stopped, they pulled back just enough to let me breathe. One of them leaned over me, his jaw twitching unnaturally. His voice was dry but sharp. "The man before you knew the rules." I couldn't answer. I was crying, bleeding, trying not to vomit. "He never saw us, he never asked questions. He showed up, stayed quiet, and left at sunrise." Another stepped in, his face inches from mine. "You'll do the same now. You will not talk, you will not interfere. You will show up every night no matter what. Got it? Please, let me leave." "Oh, you will leave, and you will come back." "Why?" "Because if you don't, we'll visit your house instead." I nodded, unable to speak. One more elder pointed at my chest, where the brand still burned. "You belong here now." They stood up and walked away. Some vanished behind tombstones, others into the woods. Within seconds, the place was empty again. I crawled back to the booth and locked the door. I didn't sleep. I didn't move until the sun came up. When the day guard arrived, I said nothing. I walked home in silence. The brand on my chest was still there, deep red, blistered. I tried to cover it, but it itched constantly, like it was healing wrong. I thought about quitting, calling the police, anything, but their words echoed in my head. "We'll visit your house instead." So I went back the next night, and the night after that. Some nights they show up, some nights they don't, but I never know which it'll be. I never talk to them, I never leave the booth after midnight. I watch my little TV and try not to move. Because they're always watching. I don't know how, but if I ever even look at them, they'll know. I just know it.
They called me on a Thursday, said it was urgent. I didn't ask questions. I was out of work, behind on rent, and barely eating. The voice on the phone was short and direct. Told me to show up to a warehouse at the edge of the city. No name, no job title, no company, just an address and a time. Friday, 8 p.m. When I got there, the place looked abandoned. Metal door half rusted, windows blacked out, but when I knocked, someone opened instantly. A guy in a gray hoodie nodded and let me in. No introductions, no small talk. We walked through dark halls until we reached a small windowless room lit by a single bulb. That was the office. A man with a shaved head sat at the table with a phone, a notebook, and a laptop. He didn't stand up, just looked at me and pointed to the chair across from him. He slid over a piece of paper. It had one line. Call the number. Confirm if someone answers. If they do, hang up. Log the result. That's it?
That's it. $300 a night. Paid in cash.
I didn't say no. I took the deal. The first few nights were boring, just endless dialing. I didn't speak to anyone. If someone picked up, I hung up immediately. Most calls rang out. Some went to voicemail. Every now and then a tired voice would answer. Sometimes kids. Sometimes old women. I didn't care. I logged the result. YN. Simple. I asked once what the point was. The guy shrugged.
Network diagnostics. We're testing call flow and delay. Ignore everything else.
It made no sense, but I kept going. Money was money. They paid every night in an envelope. No names, no IDs. The other rooms were always closed. I never saw more than 2 people at a time. No one spoke unless necessary. After the first week, I noticed something. Some numbers came back again and again, like clockwork, always around the same time. I was calling the same houses every day. That's when I started writing the addresses down. Some of those numbers were listed in public records. One belonged to a family of 4 in the suburbs, another to an old couple near the coast. I didn't think much of it until I searched one of the names. My stomach turned when I saw the headline. Family missing without a trace. Missing? The entire family? Reported 2 weeks ago. No trace. House left intact. No break-ins, no signs of struggle. Just gone. I stared at the screen for over an hour, reading the same details again and again, hoping to find something that didn't match. Something that would disconnect them from my list. I kept digging. 2 more families. Same story. All reported missing within weeks of me calling them. I was logging their routines. Every day. Who picked up? What time? I was handing over their lives like inventory. And I knew it wasn't just a coincidence anymore. That night I was pale. I was sweating before I even sat down. The guy noticed.
Something wrong?
I think I'm done. I couldn't make eye contact. My throat was dry, and my chest was tight. I had no plan, just instinct. I wanted out, no matter what. But what happened next erased any thought of walking away. He didn't say anything at first, just got up slowly. Then he grabbed me by the collar and slammed me against the table. The edge hit my ribs hard. The phone hit the floor. My vision blurred for a second. I tasted blood.
You don't get to be done.
He said it calm, like a teacher scolding a kid. His breath smelled like metal. He leaned in close.
You get paid more than most people in this city. You sit in a chair and make phone calls. You should be grateful.
He let go. I dropped to the floor. He picked up the phone, put it back on the table, and sat down like nothing happened. I didn't move. He stared at me.
Clock in. Or don't bother walking out.
I went home that night bruised. I told myself I wouldn't go back. I didn't sleep. I packed a bag, but in the morning I was on the bus again. I couldn't explain it. Fear wasn't the only thing pushing me. Something deeper had its claws in me. When I arrived, the guy smiled like we were old friends. No mention of the night before. He handed me the list and I took it. My fingers trembled, but I sat down and called. I told myself it was temporary, that I needed one more paycheck, one more night. But one night turned into another, then another, and slowly something inside me started to shift. The fear didn't go away, but it became familiar, predictable. Easy to ignore when the money was good and my name stayed out of the news. I kept going every night, calling, logging, getting paid. After a while, I stopped feeling scared. I stopped asking questions. I bought new clothes, paid my debt. I felt sharp, important. I was someone now. The people I called didn't matter. I told myself I was just collecting data. I wasn't responsible for what came after. Weeks passed. I started recognizing the voices that picked up. I knew the kids who answered, the ones who never did. I knew who was home alone. I knew who left town. And I never said a word. I even started predicting which numbers would go silent soon. I was rarely wrong. The room stayed the same. That flickering bulb, that same guy, I never learned his name, didn't care anymore. I showed up, did my shift, took my cash, went home. I began to notice I was looking forward to work, to the control, the insight, the knowledge of strangers' lives at my fingertips. Until one night, everything stopped. There was a sound, a loud bang from outside, then shouting, then more banging, boots on concrete, doors slamming, voices yelling. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. The door handle rattled. The guy at the desk stood up fast.
Get the backup list, now!
I didn't move. Another crash. Someone kicked in the front door. Then gunshots. I ran. The panic exploded inside me, the kind that burns through your chest like acid. He ran. I ran too. Down the hallway, past rooms I'd never opened. I saw men with masks smashing monitors, throwing files into bags. Someone screamed from the other end. I kept running, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I found the bathroom and locked myself in it. It smelled like mold and bleach. I backed against the wall and held my breath. My knees were weak and my vision was shaking. I heard them coming closer. I could hear the boots scraping the concrete floor. A few seconds later, the door burst open. Splinters hit my face. A cop in armor raised his gun. On your knees, now! Hands up! I dropped hard. My nose hit the tile. I felt blood. Cold metal against my head. He yelled again, but I didn't understand. Another guy came in, grabbed my wrists and cuffed me. I was dragged through chaos. Papers flying, blood on the floor, screams fading into sirens. I didn't fight. I didn't talk. I let them drag me out through the mess. Everyone else was gone. Not one of them stayed. Not one face familiar. I was alone. Now I sit in a concrete box. I get 1 hour outside, one meal in a tray, and a lawyer who doesn't believe a word I say. They think I ran the operation, that I was the point man, that I picked the targets, that I knew everything from day one. But I wasn't. I was just a guy with no options, a phone, a notebook, a shift. They never caught the others, not one. All the faces, the names, the files, gone, wiped clean like they never existed. They left me behind like garbage. So here I am, locked up for calling strangers and hanging up, for logging names and times, for watching people disappear and pretending it didn't matter. I think about them at night. The voices I remember. The ones who stopped answering. And the worst part, I still remember the numbers. Every one of them. I can see them in my head, line by line. And sometimes, I wonder who's calling them now.
I wasn't looking for anything complicated, just something that would let me stay home, avoid the city, and pay enough to survive. I found a job through a strange forum post that looked more like a spam than an actual opportunity. It said something vague like remote tech support, good pay, easy hours, and gave an email address. I messaged them without thinking much about it. They replied within an hour, asking just 2 questions. If I had stable internet and could stay connected 24/7. The next day I walked 4 blocks from my place to a building that looked like it hadn't been painted in a decade. It was just above a closed-down pizza place. The office inside was too clean, like someone had set it up the night before. A guy in a wrinkled dress shirt gave me a short contract and explained that I didn't need to actually do anything all night, just keep the system running and stay online. When I asked what happens if I'm asleep, he laughed awkwardly and said there were others covering shifts, but my presence online was mandatory, so the servers wouldn't flag inactivity. It felt strange, but I signed. The money was better than most local jobs, and I was desperate. He said someone from IT would remotely install everything that night, and I wouldn't need to lift a finger. It was too easy. I should have walked away. That night, sometime past 11, I heard my PC turn on by itself. I wasn't touching it. I watched the screen light up in the dark, commands flying like in some hacker movie. My mouse started moving without me, opening folders, installing programs I didn't recognize. Then, the screen went black for a second, and everything looked normal again. That was it. No email, no confirmation, just done. The first few days felt like a dream job. I answered maybe 1 or 2 messages per hour. Most of the time I was cooking, watching shows, or scrolling on my phone while the system stayed idle. As long as the computer was running, I was marked as present. But slowly, small things began to eat at me. There was a man who kept walking near my house. He wasn't a neighbor. I had never seen him before. He always passed by when I was at my desk. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but it kept happening, and it wasn't just passing by. He was looking in. One night I was sitting in the living room when I heard 3 slow knocks on the glass door. I turned my head and I saw him, just standing there, not trying to open it, not saying anything, just watching. When I stood up, he walked away casually like nothing happened. I didn't call anyone. I couldn't even explain what I'd say. He didn't break in. He didn't yell. But the feeling in my chest stayed for hours. After that, the behavior got worse. If I moved to the bedroom, I'd hear tapping on the window. If I went to the kitchen, he'd pass by the side door. It was as if he knew exactly where I was inside the house, even though I'd never left the blinds fully open. Something about how precise it all felt made me want to vomit. I finally broke down and told Sarah and Mallory, 2 close friends, that something was wrong. I invited them over on a Friday night and tried to play it off, like if I just wanted company. But when Sarah saw my setup, she frowned. She works in software and instantly noticed that the webcam light was on, even though I wasn't in a call or running any app that would need it. She asked if I knew it was on. I told her no. Then she told me that unless I was actively in a meeting or screen sharing, there was no reason for the light to be lit. She leaned over and began digging through the installed programs, while Mallory and I just watched in silence. Sarah's face changed the deeper she looked. She found 3 programs that weren't part of the standard setup. One was a remote access tool. The second was a system monitor. And the third let someone stream the webcam feed silently. She turned to me and asked if I trusted the people I worked for. I said no. I told her to uninstall everything they added. I wasn't going to be spied on like that. She hesitated, asked again if I was sure. I nodded, and she started deleting. As the last tool disappeared from the system, the lights in the house flickered twice, then went out completely. Everything went dark. At first, we sat still, assuming it was just a power outage. But the sound that followed erased that hope. A window shattered, loud, violent, and from the back of the house, we turned towards the hallway, and I saw Sarah's expression harden. She whispered that someone had just came in. We tried calling the police. No service, not even a single bar. Mallory held up her phone with shaking hands, while Sarah tried the landline. It was dead too. I told them we needed to get to my room upstairs, where there was a lock. We moved quietly, almost crawling in the dark. Then we heard it. Wet footsteps, slow and deliberate, not trying to hide, just letting us know he was there. Sarah pushed ahead. Mallory was behind me, breathing fast. Then she cried out. She hit the ground hard. I turned and saw a dark silhouette step into the faint light from a street through the broken glass. Mallory wasn't moving. Something long and sharp was sticking out of her back. She twitched once, The man standing behind her wore a dark jacket and night vision goggles that glowed faint green. He didn't say anything, just reached behind his back, pulled out another knife, and threw it. It hit the wall near us and dropped. We ran. Sarah and I grabbed each other and pushed towards the stairs. Mallory's groans turned to screams. He was over her, stabbing again and again with both hands, like a machine that didn't get tired. The sound of each hit was wet and heavy. We slammed the bedroom door and locked it, pressing all our weights against it. The house felt silent again. He stopped stabbing. We knew he was coming for us. I moved to the window while Sarah kept her hand on the lock. I didn't care if I broke my leg. I wasn't dying in that house. I opened the window and tried to climb out. The frame stuck a bit and made a loud creak. We both froze. We heard him move. No slow steps this time. He was running, charging towards the door. Sarah yanked me through the window, and we both dropped to the grass below. I twisted my ankle but didn't stop. We bolted towards the street with no plan and no light. We heard him hit the ground behind us. He must have jumped from the window too, but he didn't follow far. Maybe he didn't expect us to run. Maybe he wanted us to. Either way, we didn't look back until we reached the intersection. We ran until we collapsed in front of a closed gas station. Sarah was crying. I couldn't feel my leg. Mallory was gone. There was nothing we could have done. The next day, we told the police everything. They didn't believe us at first. Then we took them to the office. The guy at the front desk acted shocked and said only the IT admin could install remote tools like that. We asked to speak to him. He wasn't in. Day off. We insisted. They pulled his profile. His name was Douglas Kane, 43 years old. Lived 6 blocks away from me. When they printed his employee photo, Sarah stepped back. I nearly fainted. It was him. The man who knocked. The one with the goggles. The one who killed Mallory. He had been in my system, watching me through the webcam, tracking every move I made in my own home. They raided his house 3 days later. He wasn't home at first, but when he came back, they caught him trying to grab a box full of hard drives and photos. Inside, they found screenshots of me, saved recordings, and even GPS logs of my house.